Americans use these 10 idioms in daily life. Do you? Have you ever walked into a room and felt awkward? No one is talking. People are looking at their phones. Everyone feels a little uncomfortable. In American English, we have a very common expression for this situation. Break the ice. And today, I'm going to teach you exactly what it means, when to use it, and how Americans really use it. You will also practice with me. Let's get started. So what does break the ice really mean? Literally, break the ice means to crack frozen water. But in English, we are not talking about real ice. When Americans say break the ice, we mean to make people feel comfortable, to reduce tension, or to start conversation in an awkward situation. I want you to imagine this. You are at a work meeting. You don't know anyone, and everyone is sitting quietly. The room feels stiff, cold, uncomfortable. Then someone says, "So, who here survived the traffic this morning?" People laugh. Someone responds. Suddenly, people start talking. That person broke the ice. They made the situation warmer and more relaxed. Think of it like this. The ice represents silence, tension, and awkwardness, or even social discomfort. And when you break it, conversation can flow. Let's picture these situations. The first day at a new job. It's your first day at work. You walk into the office kitchen. 3 coworkers are standing there. They don't know you yet. It's quiet. You feel nervous. Then one of them says, "Hey, are you the new person?" "Don't worry, we're nice." Most of the time, everyone laughs. That joke breaks the ice. The atmosphere changes immediately. Example number 2, a first date. You're sitting at a restaurant. It's your first date. Both of you are smiling, but nervous. There's a pause in the conversation. Then you say, "Okay, serious question. Pineapple on pizza? Yes or no?" They laugh. Now you're talking, debating, smiling. You broke the ice. A classroom situation. Imagine now, a teacher walks into the class on the first day. Students are quiet. No one wants to speak first. The teacher says, "Before we start, tell me your name and your most embarrassing moment." Students laugh. Hands go up. The teacher broke the ice. An important business meeting. Now imagine a really important business meeting where 2 companies are meeting for the first time. The atmosphere is formal, serious, very professional. The manager says, "Before we begin, I just want to say how we're really excited to work together. And I promise this presentation is less painful than it looks." People smile, shoulders relax. That small comment broke the ice. Let's look at some other examples of how you'll hear it naturally. "He told a joke to break the ice." Or, "I tried to break the ice." We need something to break the ice. That really broke the ice. Something important I want you to notice though. It's usually used in social situations, first meetings, interviews, team building, and networking. It is very common in professional English. A common mistake that I don't want you to make is do not use this when talking about serious problems. For example, we wouldn't want to say, "We broke the ice about the financial crisis." That sounds unnatural. This idiom is about social tension, not serious global problems. Now repeat after me. Break the ice. Break the ice. Break the ice. In the past, we would say, broke the ice. Broke the ice. Broke the ice. Have you ever finished something and thought, that was so easy? Maybe a test, maybe a workout, maybe a project at work. In American English, instead of saying that was very easy, we usually say piece of cake. And today, I'm going to teach you exactly what it means, when to use it, when not to use it, and you'll practice speaking it naturally. Let's begin. So what does piece of cake mean? Literally, a piece of cake is cake, something sweet, something enjoyable, something easy to eat. In American English, when we say it was a piece of cake, we mean it was very easy, it required little effort, and it wasn't difficult at all. It often carries a feeling of confidence. Let's look at some real-life examples. Example number 1, the easy test. Imagine you studied all week. You walk into the classroom nervous. The teacher gives you the exam. You read the first question. It's exactly what you studied. Second question, easy. Third question, even easier. You finish early. Your friend asks, "How was it?" You smile and say, "It was a piece of cake." That means it was extremely easy. Example number 2, the workout. Imagine your friend says, "This workout is intense." You try it. It's simple movements. You're not tired. You're not sweating much. Afterward, they ask, "Was it hard?" You say, "No, it was a piece of cake." Example number 3, a job interview question. Let's imagine now that you're in an interview. The interviewer asks, "Can you explain your experience managing projects?" You've done that for years. You answer clearly, smoothly, and confidently. Later, your friend asks you, "Were you nervous?" You say, "No, that question was a piece of cake." It felt natural and comfortable. Example number 4, an everyday situation. Let's imagine that your mom asks you a question. She says, "Can you set up the new TV?" You connect 2 cables, press 1 button, and it works immediately. You say, "That was a piece of cake." You'll hear this expression all the time. For example, "The test was a piece of cake," or "Don't worry, it's a piece of cake." "That interview was a piece of cake." Trust me, piece of cake. A quick place I want to draw your attention to. This is informal. You wouldn't usually say this in a very serious, formal, or business meeting. It's casual, friendly, and confident. Now repeat after me. Piece of cake. Piece of cake. Piece of cake. Have you ever woken up in the morning and felt not quite right? Maybe your head hurts, maybe you feel tired, maybe your body feels weak. You're not seriously sick, but you definitely don't feel well. In American English, we often say, "I'm feeling under the weather." Today, I'll show you exactly what this expression means when Americans use it and how you can use it naturally in everyday English. Let's get started. So what does under the weather mean? Literally, under the weather sounds like you're standing under rain or clouds. But in English, we're not talking about actual weather. When Americans say, "I'm under the weather," we mean, I feel a little sick, I feel tired or unwell, or my body doesn't feel normal today. Usually, it describes mild illness like a cold, a headache, low energy, or body aches. It's a soft and polite way to say, you don't feel well. Let's look at some real life situations where we would use the idiom under the weather. Imagine you wake up early for work, but your throat hurts. Your head feels heavy. You feel exhausted. You know you shouldn't go to the office. So you send a message to your boss. "Good morning. I'm feeling a little under the weather today, so I'm going to stay home." This sounds polite and natural. It's softer than saying, I'm sick. Now I want you to imagine this situation. A student walks into class slowly. They look tired. The teacher asks the student, "Are you okay?" The student says, "I'm just feeling a little under the weather today." Maybe they have a cold, maybe they didn't sleep well. They're not extremely sick, but they don't feel great. Now let's imagine your child wakes up in the morning. They say, "My stomach hurts." They're not vomiting, they're not extremely sick, but they're quiet and tired. You might say, "She's a little under the weather today." I want you to picture this situation now. You plan to meet a friend for coffee, but they text you, "Hey, I'm feeling under the weather today. Can we meet tomorrow instead?" This sounds very natural and polite. Now, this idiom, you'll hear Americans using it all the time. Like, "I'm feeling under the weather," or "She's a little under the weather today." He stayed home because he was under the weather. "I think I'm coming down with something. I feel under the weather." I want you to notice something important. We often say "a little under the weather." This makes the expression even softer and more natural. Now I want to draw your attention to something really important. This idiom is usually used for mild sickness. If someone has a very serious illness, Americans usually say, "He's very sick," or "She's in the hospital." We don't usually say "under the weather" for something very serious. Now, let's work on your pronunciation. Repeat after me. Under the weather. Under the weather. Under the weather. Have you ever heard someone say something and immediately think, "Yes, that's exactly right"? They explain the situation perfectly. In American English, we have a common idiom for that moment. We say, "You hit the nail on the head." Today, I'll show you exactly what that expression means, when Americans use it, and how you can use it naturally in everyday English. Let's get started. So what does "hit the nail on the head" mean? Let's start with the literal meaning. Imagine someone using a hammer. When you hammer a nail into wood, you want to hit it directly on the head of the nail. If you hit it perfectly, the nail goes straight into the wood. Clean, accurate, exact. But if you miss the head of the nail, the hammer slips. The nail bends. The job becomes messy. So when Americans say, "You hit the nail on the head," we mean you said something exactly right, your explanation is perfectly accurate, or you identified the real problem. It means someone understood something perfectly. Let's look at some real-life situations. I want you to imagine at work that your team is trying to figure out why a project is late. People are suggesting many reasons. Maybe the software is the problem. Maybe the schedule is unrealistic. Maybe the client changed the requirements. Then one person says, "I think the real issue is the communication. The teams are not sharing updates." The room goes quiet. Everyone nods. Someone says, "You hit the nail on the head." This means that explanation is exactly correct. Now, I want you to imagine that you're talking to a friend. Your friend seems stressed. You ask, "Are you okay?" They say they're fine, but you notice something is wrong. You say, "Is it because you're worried about the new job?" Your friend stops and says, "Yes, that's exactly it. You hit the nail on the head." You understood their feelings perfectly. Now I want you to imagine that you and your friends are discussing a movie. One person says, "The story wasn't bad, but the characters weren't interesting." Everyone immediately agrees. Someone says, "Wow, you hit the nail on the head." That person identified the real reason the movie wasn't good. Let's imagine now this family situation. A child is upset. The parents are trying to understand why. One parent says, I think she's tired. She didn't sleep well last night. The child immediately says, yes, that's it. The other parent says, you hit the nail on the head. Some other ways that you will hear Americans use this idiom are, you hit the nail on the head. She really hit the nail on the head. That comment hit the nail on the head. I think you hit the nail on the head. Notice something important. This idiom is usually used after someone says something very accurate. It's a way of saying you're absolutely right. Now, let's work on your pronunciation. Repeat after me. Hit the nail on the head. Hit the nail on the head. Hit the nail on the head. Have you ever been working on something and suddenly you think, that's enough for today? Maybe you're tired, maybe you've done enough work, or maybe you just want to stop and continue tomorrow. In American English, we often say, let's call it a day. Today, I'll show you exactly what that expression means when Americans use it and how you can use it naturally in everyday English. Let's get started. So what does call it a day mean? Literally, the phrase sounds like you're naming or declaring the day finished. But in English, when we say call it a day, we mean stop working, stop doing an activity, or finish for today. It usually means we've done enough. There's no reason to continue right now. Often, people say it because they are tired, the work is finished, progress is slowing down, or it's getting late. Let's imagine some real situations. I want you to imagine that you and a coworker have been working on a project all afternoon. You've reviewed documents, you've answered emails, you've made several important decisions. It's now 6:30 p.m. Your coworker leans back in the chair and says, you know what? We've made good progress today. Let's call it a day. That means stop working for now. Continue tomorrow. Now, I want you to imagine that you start cleaning your house on a Saturday morning. You vacuum the floors, you organize the kitchen, you wash the laundry. But there are still a few things left to do. You feel tired. You look around and say, you know what? The house looks good enough. Let's call it a day. You'll finish the rest later. Now picture this situation. You plan to exercise for an hour. You've already done cardio, weights, stretching. You're tired and sweating. Your friend says, that was a great workout. Let's call it a day. This means we're done for today. Let's imagine now that you're working on a difficult report. You've been staring at the screen for hours. Your brain feels slow. You realize you're making mistakes. You say, I'm too tired to think clearly. I'm going to call it a day. This means you're going to stop now and continue tomorrow. Here are some other ways that you will hear Americans use this idiom. Let's call it a day. I think we should call it a day. I'm going to call it a day. We called it a day around 6 p.m. Notice something important. This idiom is very common in work situations, but people also use it in everyday life. One common mistake that I want to draw your attention to is that this idiom does not always mean the entire day is finished. Sometimes people say it even in the afternoon. It simply means to stop working now, not necessarily that the day is over. Now, let's work on the pronunciation. Repeat after me. Call it a day. Call it a day. Call it a day. Have you ever gone through a difficult time? Maybe you're stressed at work. Maybe you're studying for a difficult exam. Maybe you're dealing with personal problems. And someone says to you, hang in there. Today, I'll show you exactly what this idiom means, when Americans use it, and how you can use it naturally in everyday English. And at the end, we'll practice pronunciation together so you can say it confidently. Let's get started. So let's start with the image behind the expression. Imagine someone holding onto something tightly so they don't fall, but they're tired, but they keep holding on. That image represents not giving up. So when Americans say, hang in there, we mean stay strong, don't give up, keep going, even if things are difficult. It's a way to encourage someone who is struggling. You're telling them, things might be hard now, but you can get through this. Let's imagine some situations where Americans use this idiom. Imagine a student preparing for a difficult exam. They've been studying for hours every day. They feel tired and frustrated. They say to a friend, I don't think I can pass this test. The friend says, hey, hang in there. You've been studying hard. You can do it. That means don't quit, keep going. Imagine now you're having a stressful week at work. Deadlines are coming. Your boss is asking for updates. You feel overwhelmed. You tell your coworker, this week is really hard. Your coworker says, hang in there. The project will be finished soon. This means the difficult situation won't last forever. Now I want you to picture someone running a long race. They're tired, their legs hurt, they want to stop. A friend standing on the side of the road shouts, hang in there, you're almost at the finish line. This means keep going, you're close to success. Now imagine your friend recently lost their job. They're worried about the future. They say, I don't know what I'm gonna do. You say, hang in there, things will get better. This expression shows support and empathy. Now imagine a parent is trying to calm a crying baby late at night. The baby won't stop crying. The parent is exhausted. Another family member says, hang in there, the baby will fall asleep soon. This means just a little longer, you're doing fine. You'll hear this idiom in sentences like, hang in there. Just hang in there. Try to hang in there. Hang in there, it'll get better. Now I want to draw your attention to something important. This idiom is almost always used to encourage someone. It's supportive and positive. A common mistake that you don't want to make is to use this idiom for something that is very small or unimportant. For example, if someone says, my coffee is cold, you wouldn't want to say, hang in there. It would sound strange. This idiom is used for real challenges or difficult situations. Now, let's work on your pronunciation. Repeat after me. Hang in there. Hang in there. Hang in there. Have you ever made a decision that was difficult now, but you knew it would be better later? Maybe saving money, maybe exercising, or maybe making a smart life choice. In American English, we often say, in the long run. Today, I'll show you exactly what this means, when Americans use it, and how you can use it naturally in everyday English. Let's get started. So what does in the long run mean? Literally, the long run means a long period of time. But in everyday English, when we say in the long run, we mean over time, in the future, after everything happens, or the final result after a long period. It's often used to talk about money decisions, health choices, work or career decisions, or life outcomes. Now let's look at some real life examples. Let's picture these situations. I want you to imagine you want to buy something expensive. Instead of spending money on small things every day, you decide to save. You say, it's hard right now, but in the long run, it will help me. This means later, it will be better. Let's imagine now that you wake up early to go to the gym. You feel tired, you don't want to go, but you tell yourself, in the long run, this is good for my health. The meaning? Over time, it will benefit you. Now I want you to imagine that you decide to take a job that pays less, but it gives you better experience. You say, in the long run, this will be a better opportunity. It means it will help you in the future. Now, let's picture that you're at a restaurant and you're deciding between going with the fried food or the healthy option. You choose the healthy food instead of the fried food. You say, in the long run, eating healthy will make me feel better. Again, it means over time, it's going to improve your life. Now, I want to draw your attention to a common mistake that I don't want you to make. I want you to be very careful and not say, in long run. You have to always say, in the long run. You have to have the in there. So how do Americans use this naturally? The most common structure that I want you to focus on is in the long run, and then have the result. Some examples are, in the long run, it's worth it. In the long run, this will help you. In the long run, it saves money. In the long run, you'll be happier. Now, let's work on your pronunciation. Repeat after me. In the long run. In the long run. In the long run. Have you ever been in a situation that started small, but suddenly became too much to control? Maybe a discussion becomes an argument. Maybe a small problem becomes a big problem. Maybe a party becomes chaotic. In American English, we have a very common expression for this situation. We say, things are getting out of hand. Today, I'm going to show you exactly what this idiom means, when Americans use it, and how you can use it naturally in everyday English. At the end, we'll practice pronunciation together so that you can feel confident next time you say it in English. So what does get out of hand mean? Let's start with the literal image. Imagine you're holding something in your hand. When it's in your hand, you control it. But if something gets out of your hand, you lose control of it. That image helps us understand the idiom. When Americans say, this is getting out of hand, we mean the situation is becoming difficult to control, things are becoming chaotic, or the problem is getting worse. It usually starts small, but then it grows and suddenly someone says, okay, this is getting out of hand, which means we need to stop this before it gets worse. Let's imagine some real situations where Americans use this idiom. Now imagine you invite a few friends over for dinner. Just a small group, but then someone invites more friends. Music gets louder, more people arrive, the living room becomes crowded. Someone spills a drink. People start shouting over the music. You look around and think, this party is getting out of hand. It means the situation is becoming too chaotic to control. Now imagine you're in a work meeting. At first, everyone is calm. People are discussing a project. Then, two coworkers start disagreeing. One raises their voice. Another person interrupts. Suddenly, several people are talking at the same time. The manager says, okay, everyone, this discussion is getting out of hand. This means the conversation is becoming unproductive and chaotic. Let's picture now two kids start playing in the living room. At first, they are laughing and running around. But then they start jumping on the couch. They knock over a lamp. They start yelling. A parent walks in and says, all right, this is getting out of hand. This means the behavior is becoming too wild. Imagine now people discussing something on social media. At first, people share opinions politely. Then, someone writes an angry comment. Other people respond aggressively. Soon, the comments are full of insults and arguments. Someone might say, This comment section is getting out of hand. This means the discussion is becoming chaotic and negative. Imagine now you go to the store, planning to buy a few things: milk, bread, eggs, but then you start adding more items: snacks, desserts, drinks. Your cart becomes full. You look at it and say, okay, this shopping trip is getting out of hand. This means you're buying much more than you planned. Some common ways you'll hear this idiom are: things are getting out of hand. This situation is getting out of hand. The party got out of hand. The argument got out of hand. Notice something important. We often use it when warning that things are becoming too much. It suggests we should stop or change something. Now, a common mistake you want to avoid is to not use this idiom for something that is simply busy or active. For example, we wouldn't want to say, the office was getting out of hand. That sounds strange. Instead, we use it when a situation becomes chaotic, excessive, or difficult to control. Now, let's work on your pronunciation. Repeat after me. Get out of hand. Get out of hand. Get out of hand. In the past, we would say, got out of hand. Got out of hand. Got out of hand. Have you ever seen someone struggling? Maybe carrying something heavy. Maybe trying to do too many things at once. And you want to help them. In American English, instead of always saying, I'll help you, we often say, I'll give you a hand. Today, I'll show you exactly what this means, when Americans use it, and how you can use it naturally in everyday English. Let's get started. What does give someone a hand mean? Literally, a hand is part of your body. But in English, when we say give someone a hand, we mean to help someone, to assist someone, or to make something easier for someone. And this is a very common, friendly expression used in everyday life. It's important to note, when you give someone a hand, you can mean either to help someone or to clap, as in applause. Today, we're focusing on the most common one, helping someone. Let's look at some real life examples. Let's picture these situations. Imagine someone is at a grocery store carrying a lot of heavy bags. They're struggling to open their car door. You walk over and say, I'll give you a hand. This means I'll help you. Now, I want you to picture that your friend is moving into a new apartment. There are boxes everywhere. Furniture is heavy. You say, I'll give you a hand with the boxes. This means I'll help you move them. Now imagine you're at work and you're with a coworker that is overwhelmed. Emails, phone calls, deadlines. You can see they're really stressed. You say, I'll give you a hand with those emails. This means I'll help you. Now imagine at home a parent is cooking dinner, cleaning, and watching kids. Another family member says, let me give you a hand. Again, this means let me help you. Let's look at a common mistake that I don't want you to make. I don't want you to say, give a hand to someone. You're going to say, give someone a hand. For example, I'll give you a hand. Or, let me give you a hand. So how do Americans use it naturally? Here are the most common structures. You would say, give someone a hand, or give someone a hand with something. For example, we could say, I'll give you a hand, or let me give you a hand. She gave me a hand with my project. I'll give you a hand with that. Now, let's work on the pronunciation. Repeat after me. I'll give you a hand. I'll give you a hand. I'll give you a hand. Have you ever been working with someone and suddenly you realize you're not understanding each other? Maybe you think one thing and they think something else, and everything starts getting confusing. In American English, we often say, we're not on the same page. Today, I'll show you exactly what this idiom means, when Americans use it, and how you can use it naturally in everyday English. Let's get started. So what does on the same page mean? Literally, this expression comes from reading. If two people are reading a book and they are on the same page, they are looking at the exact same information. But in everyday English, when we say we're on the same page, we mean we agree, we understand each other, or we have the same idea or plan. And it's very common in work situations, group decisions, school projects, and everyday conversations. Let's look at some real life examples. I want you to picture these situations. Imagine you're at work and you're working on a project with your team. You think the deadline is on Friday. Your coworker, on the other hand, thinks it's next week. Now there's confusion. So your manager says, let's make sure we're all on the same page. This means everyone needs to understand the same plan. Now let's imagine a couple who is planning a trip. One person wants to relax on the beach. The other wants to go hiking every day. Clearly, they're not aligned. So one person says, we need to get on the same page about this trip. This means let's agree before we decide what we're going to do. Now I want you to imagine a few students working at school on a group assignment. One student writes a report, another student creates slides, and the other student does nothing. Before continuing, someone says, wait, are we all on the same page? This means, do we all understand what we're doing? Now imagine a family situation where a parent talks to their kids about the rules. They say, let's get on the same page about bedtime. This means everyone needs to understand and agree on the rules. So a common mistake that I really want you to pay attention to so that you're able to avoid it is don't confuse the on with in. It has to be we are on the same page. You can't say we are in the same page. It's always going to be on. We are on the same page. Let's look at how Americans use this naturally. Here are the most common structures. We can say we're on the same page, or let's get on the same page. Make sure we're on the same page. Some examples are, I think we're finally on the same page, or let's get on the same page before we start. I just want to make sure we're on the same page. Now, let's work on the pronunciation. Repeat after me. We're on the same page. We're on the same page. We're on the same page. Now, for more idioms that Americans use every day in English, make sure to take a look in my playlist listed in the description below.